Good morning, February. Good morning, February. Morning, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to Coffee Moaning. Welcome if you're watching on YouTube. Hello, if you're watching on a great big screen. Apologies. Just one apologizes for oneself. If you're listening on podcast, you may not know that you can also watch on YouTube. So we are not just a podcast, we are also a YouTuber. We're not just a YouTube, we're also a podcast. So welcome everyone. It's the 2nd of February. We went live yesterday because of the Epstein files, further gyrations, and I'm afraid we're going to still be talking about the Epstein files. Don't forget, one of the things about news sometimes, and we have this said a lot, if now for every person who says to Nadia, do you think you've become a little bit obsessed with the Gaza situation? Or do you think maybe you need a little bit of a break? That's what the system wants us to do. Step back, get weary, lose interest, stop talking, blah-de-blah-de-blah-de-blah. Because really, usually the people asking those questions are people who don't want to engage. They don't want their comfortable lives made to be a bit tricky or difficult. People don't want to have to think about a difficult thing over their coffee. So we like a bit of fun. Jesus fucking H Christ. Huge parts of this channel are fun. But when it comes to something as serious as the biggest grooming gang in the world, forgive me for not wanting to let those who are basically kind of providing cloud cover and are protecting paedophiles, forgive me for not wanting to let them get away with it. Where's reform? This is the bit I don't understand. Where's reform? Where's Nigel Farage jumping up and down and getting his knickers in a twist about a grooming gang? Where is he? It's just you, Sharon. Where is he? Tara Bashir, I'm sure the Palestinians in Gaza wish they could forget about it. They don't have a choice. Well, so many people don't have choices in so many walks of life. It's all fine. It's all fine. So what are we talking about? So Donald Trump, God, he had itchy fingers at 3 a.m. Well, not 3 a.m., 3 hours ago. 3 hours ago on Truth Social. He's going to sue the Grammys. Every single member of pop royalty and music hierarchy, quite rightly, calling out ICE as they trotted up and received their awards. And I do want to ask the probing question of, I wonder if any of those who have spoken out against ICE and against Trump's regime, whether any of them are connecting the dots to what has happened for the Palestinians. I wonder if there's anyone who, I've said it before, I really hope if you're protesting the ICE crackdown, ICE agents, what Trump's doing in America, and you haven't spoken out on behalf of the Palestinians, then you're very self-interested. You are truly only concerned about American issues, not humanitarian issues. I mean, the thing about ICE is it's a huge eye-opener, isn't it, for every American as to what the oppressed and the downtrodden and the genocided around the world are going through. You have relatability, isn't that the big fucking cachet with social media and fucking the modern age? There's relatability. So we're going to talk about Grammy winners. Obviously, some of them. I'm not homing in on anyone in particular, but for example, Billie Eilish, she has in her own way spoken and been representative and fought for the Palestinians. Not literally fought for the Palestinians, because if anyone fights for the Palestinians, you're automatically a terrorist. What's a ludicrous situation? Defend Palestine, you're Hamas. All that shit. So we're going to be talking about all of that. We're also going to be talking about the fact that according to the Deputy Attorney General, Donald Trump's Todd Blanche, the Epstein files inquiry is over. Is it? Is it really? Can it be over? With more redacted than revealed, it's not really over, is it, Todd Blanche? And especially what with Starmer saying Andrew Mountbatten needs to go to America, Mandelson needs to go to America. Mandelson's resigning for the Labour Party. Hold the front page, fucking hell. Oh my God, oh no, the political landscape's lost Peter Mandelson. I thought we'd fucking lost the Prince of Darkness years ago. He's a hideously, what's the word? Can someone give me the best word for slimy? It's not unctuous. It's like unctuous sounds like it should do the job, but there's a word for when someone's kind of slimy. And it's not GIMP, by the way. It's not GIMP. Oily. There's a word. Give me the word. Oklahoma doll, 100% not over for Epstein files. Is this the fourth time? Yeah, I mean, Victor, when will he creep? Noxious, Janina M. Ghoulish. Yeah, I love all these words. These are great. Anyway, so Peter Mandelson, for any of our international followers, we have an increasingly growing American base. Snake, icky, odious, yes, supercilious. These are all good. Mandelson was he's a Blairite, Tony Blair. He was the sort of, yeah, he's so fucking pompous. Oh, I think I have in the way back when I was a arts correspondent and a journalist, and I'm sure I came across him somewhere, and he was so dismissive. More slippery than a wet bar of soap, says Debbie. So anyway, but the Americans, you'll know him. He was the Prince of Darkness who would stand behind Trump for a brief while as the British ambassador to America. Yeah, and so the reason it's really significant that Mandelson, the dirty bastard, with his white Y-fronts on, pretending he didn't know Epstein, but took money off Epstein once Epstein had been basically found guilty as that's it, oleaginous. That's the word. Doesn't trot off the tongue, does it, Don Holland? But oleaginous, he's oleaginous. That's the word. Mucilaginous, Lee Jordan. I love the words we're coming up for Mandelson. Mandelsonius. Anyway, he wouldn't be so bad if he hadn't been so fucking cocky and supercilious. And he walks around as though he's made of Teflon and is unflappable, even though he has like a sort of fringe that's flappable. So he's not totally unflappable because Mandelson's fringe is flappable. Anyway, we're going to talk about the Epstein files apparently being closed. Apparently nothing to see here now. It's all over. The fact that in cross exchanges, cross chat in emails that were dumped over the weekend and on Friday, there's the suggestion of murder, the suggestion of torture, the suggestion of kidnap, the suggestion of burying, the suggestion of dead babies. Oh, okay, it's over. It's over. You're having a fucking laugh. You're having a fucking laugh. And we're going to talk again about how the right-wing media in this country is resolutely, I mean, I've really labored this point yesterday, so I won't go on about it too much, but it serves to be repeated because they want us to shut up. Is ignoring the fact that Israel is behind all of this. I'm sick to death of pussyfooting around this. Come on, Danny Cohen. Oh, it's an anti-Semitic trope. No, it's not. It's an Israeli fact. It's an Israeli Mossad intelligence agency factoid. Okay, so we're going to talk about all that. You can tell I feel a little bit mischievous today. Where shall we start? Let's start with Billie Eilish. Should we start with the Grammys? Let's start with the Grammys. Okay, in terms of the Grammys, who got the result they were hoping for? Unctuous. I thought unctuous was it, but I think it's oleaginous. Oleaginous is it. That's the word. De-lord him. God, sounds like something out of Doctor Who. Yeah, he is a lord. He's resigned from the Labour Party, Mandelson. We'll get back to Mandelson. Libidinous lech. Oh, shem. That's a cracking use of two words. Anyone don't watch them? Reese, I know you're a big Muso fan, and I saw Kendrick Lamar won. Bad Bunny won. Had to listen to the insufferable what's his name? Nick Ferrari this morning. Oh, God, he's so... Can I just for a moment just pause on Nick Ferrari, one of our leading right-wing drive time morning radio presenters. Oh, he did the classic thing that an embarrassing father-in-law of a certain generation would do. He'd go, is Bad Bunny his name? I mean, he wasn't born with this name. Oh, fuck off, you moron. Of course he wasn't born with it, you douche. What are you, named after a fucking car? So he's like, Bad Bunny. And then he had a journalist on to talk about it. And he said, well, no, actually, his real Puerto Rican name is da-da-da-da-da-da, which I can't remember. Oh, that's probably why he went for Bad Bunny. It's just like, oh, white, colonialist, middle-class, men. Oh, men in ties. I've decided I am never, ever wearing a tie in my life again. Men in ties, fuck off, do one. Hope you all choke on them. An audible laxative, King Bridget. Fuck me. You know what? You're all better than the thesaurus, which was a giant dinosaur wandering around in the prehistoric age that just ate words, apparently. 8 words. Okay, well, look, lots of people won. Bad Bunny won. I think it was significant. Am I right for any Muso fans here? Bad Bunny's significant in that it's the first, he won for his album, first solely Spanish language album to win a Grammy in 70 odd years. I mean, the interesting thing about the Grammy winners and the music that's been proves popular in America, all it speaks to is a migrant nation, immigrant nation, a melting pot of joy. Is that right? Oh, I'm right, Reese. Thank you. What I mean, and this is where music is the food of love. But no, this is where music is a smorgasbord. Apart from, I have to say, I cannot fucking stand that Beyonce cowboy track. It makes me literally want to. I want to just heave my head onto a spike, a rusty spike, so that I get an infection. Oh, that's bitter. That's my coffee. I'm having a coffee moan right now. Oh dear. If you're listening to a podcast, you might want to see an aged man wincing. Never heard Bad Bunny until he spoke out. Yeah, so, lots. So again, what a brilliant illustration of the ethnic diversity of America. Moss was in the car this morning. I was saying to Maddie, the weirdest thing about you Americans, right? And I'm talking to you Trumpian Americans. I might stumble across this and go, who's this progressive, lily-livered, tofu-eating, bed-wetting sop? Okay, I'm quite happy to be all those things. It's like, why do you all go on about where you originally came from if you hate migrants? Well, it's like the reason Donald Trump has fucking golf courses in Scotland is because of his dear ma or great grandma, his Scottish heritage. And, Biden, it's Ireland. And here for a country that's so insular and so anti-migrant, or for that, the right wing was so anti-migrant, why are you so hung up on where you came from? Get me? So weird. Anyway, let's have a listen to Billie Eilish. And then we're going to move towards Trevor Noah, who was the host. He's going to be sued by Donald Trump. But then I do wonder sometimes whether Donald Trump, whilst I have a vision most nights of Donald Trump on his back, on his bed, with his legs in the air, having his nappy changed. And that's the point at which he's going goo goo gaga with his phone and Truth Social. Sue them, and he'll type it, and everyone in the White House is going, just let him say it. It's like the BBC. He wants to sue them. What's he saying today? 50 billion. Yeah, just let him say it. He'll forget about it in about half an hour. So I reckon anyway, we'll get to Trevor Noah in a minute. Let's have a listen to, where are my clips? Let's have a listen to Billie Eilish.
Illegal on stolen land. Yeah, it's just really hard to know what to say and what to do right now. And I feel really hopeful in this room, and I feel like we just need to keep fighting and speaking up and protesting, and our voices really do matter, and the people matter. And I say sorry.
Obviously they bleeped her at the point that she said fuck ICE, because all of us really struggle with the word fuck, don't we? I mean, Christ almighty, none of us have used it. None of us have thought it. I wonder if people who don't swear think the word fuck. And when they do, they have to go off somewhere and, I don't know, beat themselves with a cucumber or something. Don't know. So, yes, let's have another. What was the line she says?
Illegal on stolen land.
No one is illegal on stolen land. I love what she's saying there. Yeah, you could argue, but the Israelis have stolen the Palestinians' land. So it gets a bit confusing at that point, doesn't it? But I know what she's saying. What she's saying is you can't sit here pretending that we own this. We're a true American. What kind of an American are you? And you can't be doing that when you've decimated, genocided, and murdered the native indigenous population. Huh? Can you? Can you? You can't, can you? I mean, I'm asking. So Billie Eilish, to be fair, has posted about Gaza. It'd be great if someone drew the parallel. That would be good. I think the next clip here is Bad Bunny.
Eyes out. We're not savage. We're not animals. We're not aliens. We are humans, and we are Americans. The hate get more powerful with more hate. The only thing that is more powerful than hate is love. We need to be different. If we fight, we have to do it with love.
No one is illegal on stolen land. And I feel like we just need to keep fighting and speaking up and protesting, and our voices really do matter and the people matter.
Please don't fall into despair. I know that right now is a scary time. I know the algorithms tell us that it's so scary and all is lost. We need to trust each other and trust ourselves, trust your heart. We're not governed by the government, we're governed by God.
Ice out pins, lots of artists wore them. Even Bieber there with the ice out. Okay, I'm going to ask you a question. Is it unfair for me to really aggressively, verbally, I don't mean literally, because I don't want to be a terrorist, for me to aggressively state that if you're saying ice out and you're outraged and you're upset and you're a musician and you have a huge public profile and you're wearing badges saying ice out, but you've said nothing about the genocide, that you're a hypocrite? Is that too strong? Because I feel a little bit like this, like I do about those celebrities and influencers and people who commented on Ukraine but said nothing about Gaza. Is that too harsh? Are we expecting too much? Or does it once again speak to the, some would call anti-Semitic trope? No, but the concept or the proof we've had in recent months, decades, that there is a sort of control at work of the industry, of various industries, a fear of being, blackballed or shadow banned creatively. Shauna Roche, it's gotten a little too close to home for the mark. That's all. It's a little too uncomfortable. Yeah, no, absolutely. But it's that weird thing of when it happens to you, I don't know, maybe people split into two different camps. When something happens to you, of course it happens to, so say something awful happens to you and you go through it and you're dealing with the immediacy of it. So I suppose you could give some Americans a pass for saying, they're just coming to terms with what's happening. It's erupting as we speak. And maybe it'll take a little bit of time for them to kind of reflect on it and go, fucking hell, this is what the fuck they were talking about in Palestine when everyone was saying in our thousands, in our millions, we are all Palestinians. Oh, right, I get it. Maybe it's a bit much to expect that connecting thought so early. I mean, I'm trying to be kind of generous here. I'm not having a go at Bad Bunny. I'm not having a go at SZA. I never know how to pronounce it. SZA. Here's someone else. This is.
I say I'm up here as a granddaughter of an immigrant. I wouldn't be here. I'm a product of bravery, and I think those people deserve to be celebrated.
This is Olivia Dean, if you're listening.
So yeah, we're nothing without each other. Thank you so much. I love you. Thank you so much. Bye.
That was Olivia Dean, for anyone who was listening. I believe Gaza fell through the cracks initially. Oklahoma Doll, you've educated me and others about Gaza over the last year. Okay, thank you, Oklahoma. I'm going to pop that up. That's a reasonable. I kind of my bipolar-esque kind of mood today threw me hurtling towards judgment and damnation. And actually, Oklahoma Doll, you've tugged me back from the precipice of perhaps being a bit too forthright. But I do worry that the longer this goes on and the more that people don't draw connections or connect the dots. I mean, for example, any American who has been protesting for and on behalf of the Palestinians knows exactly what ICE means and sees the parallels with the IDF. I mean, a good example of how sort of contorted things are in America was, I don't know if anyone saw last week, the New York Times article in which I dove into it thinking, oh, the parallels are going to be drawn between ICE and the IDF. But no, the New York Times sought to draw parallels between ICE and Hamas. And do you know what the main connecting thought was? It wasn't even more sophisticated than this, was the fact that they wore masks. I mean, the Ku Klux Klan wear masks. The IDF rapists wore masks at the prison. I mean, you know, masks doesn't denote diddly poo other than you don't want to be recognized by someone else. And who was it who just said, no, you are right? Excuse me, N4 Sands. I get irritated with those who are vocal and disgusted over the Windrush scandal, but are full-on Reform Farage supporters. I can't even believe in the Venn diagram of political opinion there are those who are disgusted about Windrush but support reform. Well, this is a weird thing, you see. I think something that's not spoken about a lot. I've been a little bit surprised by the uncovering of some of the ICE agents who've been responsible for some of the most atrocious violence. I saw somewhere the identity of the two guys who shot Alex Pretty. And I'm not, I mean, again, racially profiling is when you look at a picture of someone and you assume something. But their names sounded very Latino. They looked essentially Latino. They looked like, the reason I make that point is the two shooters looked like the kind of people the two shooters would have stopped in the street and asked, where are you from? What kind of an American are you? And I do think there is a big taboo in America and here that's not talked about, which is first generation and second generation migration or immigrants who can twist and turn to be anti-foreigner because in a weird way they feel they were first, or that I'd be fascinated to know what the kind of rationality. I mean, it's a whole big different other kind of discussion, but yeah, I mean, it's something that doesn't get talked about enough, I don't think. But anyway, those are some of them. They're not all of them. Those are some of the. I think Cher made a huge mistake, didn't she? She kind of fucked her name and wandered off. Maybe she walked into a lamppost. But anyway, look, let's get to Trevor Noah. Trevor Noah hosting the Grammys. Well, before he tells the joke about Mika Mack gifted 10 memberships, that's fantastic. You've got a pre-recorded Sunday show landing forthwith and soon. We've just got to record the funny shit with Maddie, and you're going to get a nice 2 delectable dishes from Nabs, and then we'll be live again next week picking things up. Yeah. Before we go to the Epstein Island Trump joke that's drawn the fury of Big Bubba Trump on his back having his nappy changed, Trevor Noah had this to say about Nicki Minaj.
Is not here. She is not here. She is still at the White House with Donald Trump discussing very important issues. Actually, Nikki, I have the biggest ass. I have it. Everybody's saying it, Nikki. I know they say it's you, but it's me. Wop, wop, wop. Look at it. Look at it, baby.
Yeah, God almighty. When he said that, you sort of imagine Donald Trump twerking. Oh, dear. Reese says it was Trevor's 6th and last year hosting. That's why he wanted to go hard on Trump. Well, first of all, he went hard on Nicki Minaj. I don't think it's playing for her within in and amongst her peer group, her industry peers. But here's the Epstein joke. Let's see if you feel this is a bit close to the bone.
Of the year. Congratulations, Billie Eilish. Wow. That is a Grammy that every artist wants, almost as much as Trump wants Greenland, which makes sense. I mean, because Epstein's island is gone, he needs a new one to hang out with Bill Clinton. So, I told you it's my last year. What are you going to do about it?
Okay, well, what Trump's going to do about it? And I do worry for Trevor here, because let's hope this was a Truth Social texted, as I say, whilst he's on his back, playing with his own shit everywhere. This is Donald Trump's full Truth Social response. The Grammy Awards are the worst, virtually unwatchable. CBS is lucky to not have this garbage litter their airwaves any longer. The host, Trevor Noah, whoever he may be, is almost as bad as Jimmy Kimmel at the low ratings Academy Awards. Noah said incorrectly about me that Donald Trump and Bill Clinton spent time on Epstein Island. Wrong! I can't speak for Bill, but I've never been to Epstein Island or anywhere close, and until tonight's false and defamatory statement have never been accused of being there, not even by the fake news media. Noah, a total loser, better get his facts straight and get them straight first. It looks like I'll be sending my lawyers to sue this poor, pathetic, talentless dope of an MC and suing him for plenty dollars. Ask little George Slopadopoulos and others how that all worked out. Also ask CBS. Get ready, Noah. I'm gonna have some fun with you. President DJT. It really is a toddler gang. I never did it. I never went there. I don't know who. What is an island? I don't know. I thought an island was where you was in a kitchen where you had your breakfast. I don't know what an island is. I'm going to have some fun with you. Where is the needed port? I'm going to have some fun with you. Well, clearly he's been having fun with lots of people over the years, hasn't he? What a disgusting man. I mean, we've come out of the weekend with more members of the American political establishment protecting and defending pedophiles, rapists, potentially and suggested murderers than we did at the beginning of last week. And there he is. I'm going to have fun playing. He gives you evidence every time he speaks. He gives you more reason to believe the rumors more and more and more and more. But I mean, who thinks Trevor Noah should worry? I mean, Christ. It might have been his last one, but fucking hell, I mean, literally, imagine that letter landing on your doormat. Mandelson has resigned from the Labour Party. So let's just get rid of that. But look, Todd Blanche says this. Todd Blanche says, review of Jeffrey Epstein's sex trafficking case is over. That's it. Nothing more to see here, guys. It's all over. It's all done with. And I think it serves to replay and repeat this that he said at the press conference.
Depiction of CSAM or child pornography was obviously excluded. Anything that would jeopardize an active federal investigation. And finally, anything that depicts or contain images of death, physical abuse, or injury, also not produced.
The weirdest thing about that soundbite is what he's telling us there is if anything that relates to child abuse, child molestation, murder, torture won't be included. So consequently, there is stuff that hasn't been included. But he's also seeking to tell us the investigation is over. So that, by any stretch of the imagination, is a cover-up. It's a cover-up. I don't know who this guy is, but what he says is so on point. I just had to share him with you.
Transparency, it's a cover-up, and here's how it works. They show you flight logs, emails, PG-rated photos, fragments of conversations that have been stripped of the meat. A few big names get thrown under the bus. It's just enough to feel disturbing, but never enough to prove anything about the real players. That's what you'll see in this massive document dump. What you won't see is context. You won't see corroboration, and you definitely won't see accountability, because that's not the point. This is a weaponized DOJ strategy of controlled confusion, and it's working perfectly. You see, they don't protect powerful people by erasing evidence. They protect them by releasing it slowly, by delaying key documents, by over-redacting names, and by letting the public fight over the scraps if we're not too distracted by the latest military invasion of a third world country or a major US city. Chaos becomes their cover. The goal isn't to reveal the truth, it's to survive it. So read the files, but don't confuse access with justice, because sometimes the most effective cover-up is letting you see just enough.
And just for clarification, for those of you listening on podcast, those are pro tips from a retired FBI agent. Obviously, I haven't verified whether he is a retired FBI agent, but everything he says, I agree with. Yeah, absolutely, Oklahoma Doll, spot on. And that's kind of what we were kind of edging towards over the weekend when the files were released. It's not like this information has landed in the public realm and Trump and all of his acolytes and his regime weren't aware of it. They're forever trying to modulate what can they get away with, what can they get past, What can they live with sitting in the public realm? What part of what the files reveals will they be able to navigate round with some other kind of distraction? It's why all eyes really have been on Iran at the same time. And on that, I was listening to a really interesting, or I fell asleep to a very interesting podcast interview with Greg J. Stoker, who is a former he's a US veteran, Army veteran, served in Iraq. He's running for as a politician in Texas. He's an advocate for the Palestinians. He's an advocate for the working Americans too. And he was just making a point. It's interesting that apparently, I didn't realize the extent to which the American munitions situation, in terms of America might have sent a great big armada, but they haven't got many fucking things they can fire, apparently. So the American army isn't as fully flexy, strong, kind of show-offy as Trump would like us think. So part of the hesitations going on down with Iran, with the armada, why Israel hasn't struck first, is they're not entirely certain that they could overwhelm Iran. And they're certainly not certain that Iran couldn't do some serious damage to lots of American troops at various bases in Qatar, in Saudi, in Jordan, et cetera, et cetera. So on the one hand, so Greg, I need to find, I'll pop the link in the description box of this live to the chat that he did last night. It was live as I was listening to it, but it was an account I'd not found or followed before. But it was incredibly fascinating. He was going into extraordinary detail about how, whilst, the Americans and Trump want to show off about their great military prowess, that prowess isn't necessarily as a surefire situation. A lot of military hardware was used in what is now called the 12-day war between Israel and Iran. So that's intriguing. But yeah, no, what he's saying there, again, how to distract, they give you just enough information. They trickle just enough information to satisfy. They throw a few names under the bus. And that's where I say, yes, we need to call out Andrew Mountbatten. Yes, he needs to face the full fury of whatever legality or law or whatever. He needs to answer for this stuff, but he mustn't become the sacrificial lamb. We mustn't, in our baying for blood, just go, oh, brilliant, yeah, do Andrew and do Mandelson, and then ignore all the fucking Americans who are involved in this, because boy, oh boy, the Americans are in it up to their elbows. I just want to show this. This was a pushback from a journalist when Todd Blanche said, that's it, this is nothing more to see here, even though we now know that they're not sharing with us the names of anyone. Listen to this. This is interesting, this pushback from a journalist at the press conference.
Of the Epstein, of your review of the Epstein files. So just to clarify, is the public going to learn the identities of the men who abused the girls?
What a deceptively reasonable question to ask.
That you're releasing, and if not, why not?
It's baked in an assumption into your question that I have never said and I don't know to be true. Is the public going to learn about men that abuse these girls? Like, what does that mean? I don't understand what that means.
Well, they're the men who abused the young women through Epstein's.
Look, we said in July, and it remains as true today as it was in July. If we had information, we meaning the Department of Justice, about men who abused women, we would prosecute them, right? We talked about the work that we're doing. That's why I said that. I said this earlier. There's this built-in assumption that somehow there's this hidden tranche of information of men that we know about that we're covering up or that we're choosing not to prosecute. That is not the case. I don't know whether there are men out there that abuse these women. If we learn about information and evidence that allows us to prosecute them, you better believe we will. But I don't think that the public or you all are going to uncover men within the Epstein files that abuse women, unfortunately.
Okay, well, maybe we could help Todd Blanche along here with this screenshot of an email exchange, which was released over the weekend. And maybe we could just steer him towards this and say, do you not think we need to kind of unredact this? Why did you redact this name? To someone, redacted, where are you? From Jeffrey Epstein. Are you okay? I loved the torture video. And then going further down, we deserve to know, says Dank Chains, who and what these are about as well. Another email exchange. I want the best strategy for buying him his something. And then at the bottom it says, I give you permission to kill him. Message to Jeffrey Epstein. He is apparently with redacted. He lied to you and he lied to me. So at what point does a screenshot or a couple of pages like that not necessitate unredacting of who the people are? Yeah, these lives are not for children. I mean, it states on the channel, this is an adult channel. So yeah, and obviously any underage kids should not be watching this. So how, when it might be part of an ongoing investigation, YouTube, so how does one get around this? Are we in a situation where the victims can simply announce or bring, what about someone who knows they're a victim of such and such? Can they not just, what is stopping? I still can't quite wrap my head around what is stopping some of the victims, and I know they're being suggested they shouldn't do this for legal protection, of actually naming people. And Marjorie Taylor Greene said she was going to name people in the House of Representatives, and you just sort of think, well, what? How can we just? Is this? I mean, when he says that this is it, it's over. That's what he means. That's what he means. That's the best you're going to get, and that's why it's an educated gamble, and that's why there's perhaps a pause on the hit of Iran. Because right now there's a scramble perhaps through the files going, well, actually, we're not going to release, we can actually stop at the point that we've released them. Do you get me? Why is no one making the link? We are, Sarah Jane Greer. Why is no one making the link with Israel-Palestine with all this crap? Epstein was an Israeli blackmail op. You need to check out the 2 lives I did over the weekend, Sarah Jane Greer. That really was the emphasis of most of our content. But for in the spirit of not letting go and being a dog with a bone, this was the headline in the Telegraph yesterday. Now, what makes this headline in the Telegraph yesterday so almost laughable is that because Epstein is wearing a Russian Cossack's hat, they've made the obvious connection, and obviously that's not the only reason. There is obviously connections between him and the KGB and Russian intelligence. But just to bear this in mind, Israel is mentioned more times in the recent dump of files than Trump is. And I think Trump's mentioned 3,000 times. It's also mentioned in the files by the FBI that Trump has been compromised by Israel. It's also been stated in many other files and many other documents and court papers that Jeffrey Epstein was an Israeli intelligence asset. But the Western right-wing Zionist supporting media refuses to engage with that part of it. But they do engage with this, a story I posted yesterday. Telegraph at it again. Epstein's links to Putin and Kremlin spies raise fears he was a Russian agent. And I popped underneath it, how about the fact that he was an Israeli agent? This is how fucking not gaslit, how compromised our media are, that they don't even see it as an issue that he's an Israeli Mossad intelligence asset. They're still wanting to trot out what's becoming quite a tired and dated narrative of Russian influence and Russian interference and Chinese. You know what, guys? You've lost the fucking room. We're all past just assuming Russia and China are the biggest enemies. What's been revealed to us is that our closest so-called allies, America and Israel, are more dangerous to us than Russia or China, potentially. And they've got a massive problem on their hands. Because the vast majority of anyone who's got a vague capability of connecting 2 brain fucking cells together can see the corruption, smell the corruption. And as I said before, whoever it was who just mentioned, why is no one drawing the connection? Sarah Jane Greer, I think. I said very clearly over the weekend, and I popped it on Instagram, and lots of people are engaging with it and agreeing. You know, the genocide in Gaza is a direct result of the go slow of the West, because the reason they've gone slow is for fear that Israeli intelligence teams and Mossad and the Israeli regime will release more or tell more about the powers that be in the UK, Europe, and America. It's the whole thing is a honey trap. The Gaza genocide is a consequence of the largest spread over decades honey trap known to man. And that's what Epstein was. And yes, he engaged with all intelligence agencies. All intelligence agencies engage with each other. But first and foremost, he was an Israeli asset. But look, the Telegraph ain't interested in that. What they do is they find a photograph of him in a Cossack hat. I wouldn't be at all surprised if tomorrow the Telegraph show footage of him Cossack kicking. He was an intelligence asset of Russia. Get over your Russian. I hope you're not talking to me, Joy Duncan. Do you mean the Telegraph? Absolutely. Get over your Russian phobia. It's that's what I'm saying. It's totally fucking fraudulent. It talk about a skewed, propagandized media. And just finally, as I said earlier, Mandelson quits Labour. Epstein documents reveal he urged bank to threaten Labour Chancellor over bank. So basically, he was in it up to his elbows. Tories and SNP call for inquiry into how Mandelson came to be appointed ambassador, given Epstein links. I have to say, this is a huge problem for for Starmer. And I do think, and I'm not one for wanting to sidle alongside the Tories at all, but the SNP are there, so that's better. But I think Starmer needs to have his feet held to the fucking fire over this. What did Starmer know about Mandelson? How much did Starmer's top fucking aide, Morgan McSweeney, who, to be brutally honest with you, Morgan McSweeney is the man behind, he is the Wizard of Oz. He's the man operating the Chucky / Paddington Bear animatronic dummy that is Keir Starmer. Morgan McSweeney is the Iago, or, in the wings, whispering into the ear of a completely vacant-eyed, dumbstruck Prime Minister Starmer. What did Morgan McSweeney know about Mandelson and his involvement with Epstein? No one talks about it. It's not sexy, is it, to talk about prime ministers' aides and assistants and private secretaries and people. And, Morgan McSweeney doesn't say much in public. But keep saying the name. Just keep saying, who's Morgan McSweeney? Who is he? And you will account for why Keir Starmer looks like a blank, petrified Paddington Bear / Chucky fucking hypnotized doll, not knowing what the fuck he's doing. Because he's just being operated, quite literally. The levers are being moved. It's like Morgan McSweeney is Geppetto pulling the strings of Pinocchio. You can't tell me Keir Starmer, former head of the Crown Prosecution Service, didn't know Mandelson's involvement with Epstein, didn't know more about Epstein. You're trying to tell me nothing floated in front of the Crown Prosecution Service about Epstein? Really? And it's like someone else said, I just saw earlier here, if the royal family had a clear, obvious, forward-looking sense of what was coming about Andrew, then what's been dumped in the public was known before it was dumped in the public, right? So if they know that, presumably the the British government probably knew that too. I mean, obviously the royal family couldn't have so conveniently got ahead of the story when they ditched his title of prince, got him out of Frogmore. When I say that this Labour government is one of the most sinister governments ever, it's because they are not what they purport to be. They are simply gatekeepers. They are simply caretakers of a system that they don't want to change too much. So yeah, let's hope. So again, and let me just, it's very unedifying. There's an image of, imagine being a man who can stand there in your white jockstrappy pants without any self-awareness, ordering something from a young woman in a bathrobe. And probably because I've got a book about art. I'm not just a sort of sexual beast. I read books about art. I'm sure that's just a coffee table book. Is he ordering breakfast? Who knows? Who knows? Betty has skid. Sarah D. Betty has skids. See, we're willing to go towards skid marks in this live. So once again, the important thing here is, yes, Mandelson needs to be held to account. Yes, Andrew needs to be held to account, but don't allow that to eclipse the bigger picture, as Sarah Jane Greer brilliantly reminded us to point out for the third live. All of this is happening due to Jeffrey Epstein being an Israeli intelligence asset. And Trump has been compromised by Israel. Britain has been compromised by Israel. It runs high, it runs far, it runs deep. And one just keeps having to go on about it. And none of our journalists, none of our mainstream journalists will ever ask awkward questions because they're part of the fucking cover-up. What was the final? Epstein files are closed. Call out. Oh, yeah. No, I just want to talk about this. A lot of the news, I heard at Radio 4 this morning, you know, that quintessential middle-class BBC. That's not to say there's a lot on Radio 4 I do like, but the Gaza crossing is open today. Like this is some great big fucking gesture of humanitarianness to the Palestinians. The Rafah crossing, Gaza crossing to Egypt reopens in step forward for fragile ceasefire, says the New York Times. Israel and Egypt have disagreed for months about how to resume operations at the Rafah border crossing, which has been closed for nearly a year. I just want to pause. Gaza crossing to Egypt reopens in step forward for fragile ceasefire. There hasn't been a ceasefire. If you call something a fragile ceasefire, it means it's not a ceasefire. Do you see how language legitimizes what Israel is still continuing to do? 32 people were killed over the last 48 hours in Gaza, children. Bombing, you know, camps. And the New York Times says fragile ceasefire. How utterly disrespectful to Palestinians. Fragile ceasefire. Really? That's not a ceasefire. And my concern about the opening of the Rafah crossing is this. Here's The Guardian reporting it. Gaza's Rafah border crossing with Egypt reopens for limited travel. They say that this is to allow Palestinians out who are seeking urgent medical aid or need, and it's to allow some Palestinians back in who left the Gaza Strip at the beginning of the conflict. Who thinks and who wonders and who reckons that this Rafah opening is where many Palestinians are going to be encouraged, if not literally by being pushed physically, but through the absolute lack of any ability to sustain themselves, live a life or livelihood or feed their children. Like most humans without any options will be forced like a mass exodus through the crossing. They're only allowed in and out on foot. They say they're closely guarding it because, of course, the reason the Rafah crossing is such a sort of hot potato for the Israelis is this is where it's seen that a lot of Hamas's hardware and weaponry was smuggled in, et cetera, et cetera. I'll tell you something, a thought that just crossed my mind the other day. I wouldn't be at all surprised, given the history of Netanyahu and how he funded Hamas when it suited him to have a sort of a conflict between two competing Palestinian forms of governance, Fatah, the Palestinian Authority, Hamas. So Benjamin Netanyahu helped to fund that rift because it suited him at that point to have the Palestinians fighting amongst themselves, have radicalized Palestinians, so we can call them terrorists, etc. He was part of that. I had this awful thought that, and I tell you, this could come true. What I think might be happening right now is that I wouldn't be at all surprised if Netanyahu, who wants this to be a never-ending conflict, because he's not on board, is he, with phase 2 of Donald Trump's peace plan? He's not as happy about that as Donald Trump is, as Kushner is, as Blair is, as Starmer may well be. I wouldn't be at all surprised if Benjamin Netanyahu has a vested interest in Hamas rearming so that they can start the whole unedifying cycle once again. Has anyone thought this? I mean, it just struck me the other day. I thought, maybe he has a vested interest. It's that sort of weird yin and yang. There is no Netanyahu without Hamas. And so he needs them. And perhaps he needs them to be able to bite back a bit more now. So he can say to Trump, we don't need your peace plan. We need to occupy it ourselves. Who knows? It's just a thought. It's just a thought. I'm not usually one for banging on about boycotts because so many industries, so many platforms like this one, if you dig into everything is inextricably entwined and global and threads through and touches the fucking horrible hand of Israel. But this is a particularly grisly story. Zara, the clothes firm, funded Ben-Gvir, and Ben-Gvir is he the security minister for Israel? He's the eyes popping out on stalks, toad-like looking guy who runs around prisons and mocks Palestinians and was considered too extreme for even the IDF. So he's a kind of huge fan of Israeli terrorist settlers. Zara funded Ben-Gvir's election campaign, and Ben-Gvir hosted Zara's agent at his home. And there you go. Al Jazeera News reporting that. Al Jazeera was reporting that too. Just a little reminder, if you pass Zara and think, well, that's a nice top, maybe find a nice top somewhere else. Who knows? Okay, guys, that's your lot. Something else is landing on the channel later today. Keep the comments coming in. Keep the dialogue happening. Like this, share this, screenshot bits, subclip it, whatever you want to do with it. I was going to start singing there, but I can't. All right, guys, have a lovely day. Thanks for all